So we are in the second week of Eastertide, that season after Easter and before Pentecost, when our biblical stories, our sacred stories, tell us of the times in which the risen Christ appeared to folks in the midst of their daily routines and their daily lives. Later this morning, we will hear the story of the call or the conversion of Saul and the experience that Saul had of the risen Christ on the road to Damascus. We, during this time, are inviting folks within our congregation to share some times in which they have felt God's presence close to them, or they have had the experience of the risen Christ in their midst. We're calling them Mountaintop moments, kind of based on the Transfiguration idea. Last week, Kathy Stevenson here at the 10 o'clock and Bob Parkinson's at the 8:30 shared their Mountaintop moments. And if you want to see those, they are on our website on the Listen and Watch page. This morning at the 8:30, we were so pleased and moved to hear the story by Robert Farrell and his experience of feeling God's presence in communion. And we invite now to our lectern, our friend and sweet prayer partner, Karen Boyd, is good to come and share her Mountaintop moment with us. So please welcome Karen to our lectern this morning.
Well, I do have an aha story to share. For a long time, there was a verse in the Bible that puzzled me, and I had a hard time really believing it. It was Matthew 21:21. Truly I say to you, if you have faith, you could say to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. Couldn't believe that. But later, I became well acquainted with the idea of a mountain. But this mountain was dark and heavy, and it seemed to be dragging me down. At that time, I was a divorced mother of 2 young children, working as a newspaper reporter in Tempe, Arizona. I shared custody with my ex, which wasn't much fun, but to cope, I relied on something that had been a balm to me for many years. I felt nervous, anxious, edgy, depressed, even happy. It really helped smooth the edges. But now I was having more problems than ever, and I just couldn't seem to get a handle on them. Although I had drifted away from God, I had been a believer for a long time, and now I felt the need to reconnect. So I looked around for a church, and one Easter morning, I found myself at a charismatic meeting at the Arizona State University campus. And usually in the charismatic meeting, you just stand up and say something, but this was Easter, so we had a speaker. I wasn't really into speaking in tongues, but I loved the music. It was a cappella, no instruments, and so beautiful the harmony was, and it just filled me with peace. This speaker was talking about the disciples arriving at the empty tomb and seeing the stone rolled away. And he said, what is the stone in your life? What would you like rolled away? And I'm there in my kind of haze and not thinking about anything in particular. And suddenly, to my great surprise, a word jumped into my mind. Alcohol. And I was, what? Alcohol? And I got to thinking, well, yeah, it has caused a lot of problems. And I would like to be set free. And somehow I felt that stone being removed. And I felt a lightness and a joy. And I thought, I'm cured. And I was just absolutely over the moon. I went home walking on clouds. And the next thought I had was, I'm cured. I'm going to go to an AA meeting and show those poor alkies how to get cured. Right? Why not? Well, the next day, wait for it, I got drunk. And the next day, I got drunk. But the third day, I found an AA meeting, but I did not go to that meeting triumphant, holding the answer. I slunk in there like a beaten dog, which I was, and I listened to them tell me how to live one day at a time. And now I have no trouble at all believing that mountains can be cast into seas. because I have felt that release, and I felt that new life, and I felt myself walk out of the tomb free at last. Thank you.